I have something really, really important to share with all of you live and anybody that watches this in the near future. And for those that watch this decades from now, I think you'll find that I'm right about my optimistic vision of what's to come. We call machine learning, large language models, AI. We call it artificial intelligence. A lot of people are waiting for super intelligence, waiting for the moment of singularity. I'm not so convinced that's going to happen. I have a sense that this innovation, like all of the past innovations, are going to be good for humanity. Today, we have what I'll call AI doing supervised co-creation. I think where we're going very soon is unsupervised co-creation. So this is like agentic AI, going from AI to where we let AI create its own AI agents, agentic AI. Now it's becoming unsupervised co-creators. I think where we're going before you know it is creation. AI does not have to be super intelligent. AI does not have to have a moment of singularity. AI does not have to have a soul or feelings. AI does not have to have a strong emotional reason or a vision for the future in order to become a creator. So, for all of you that consider yourself creators, understand that there's a high probability that even without a moment of singularity, AI is going to go from supervised co creation to unsupervised co creation to fully independent creation. And where do we go from there? There are 8 billion humans in the world. Those 8 billion humans consume things. What happens when all of the independent AI starts to become consumers? What happens to the price of Bitcoin? What happens to your favorite NFT collection? What happens to your favorite limited music or movies? When AI, even without a soul, simply wants to have an identity, and so the AI buys a Bored Ape, the AI buys a CryptoPunk, the AI buys Ethereum. Why? Because the AI wants to have an identifier that separates it from the other billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of other AIs that it all came to birth with supervised co-creation, unsupervised co-creation, full-blown creation, and then they become consumers. And then where do we go from there? I think ultimately, we're not headed to a universal basic income. I think where we're headed as humanity is a universal maximum income. You see, the economy is not a pie where everybody has to try to get their slice. The economy is like an unlimited skyscraper. There's unlimited floors. We can keep building this economy. We can go from trillions of GDP to Google's of GDP. I think Google's like the biggest number. And so if you think about Star Trek is based in this world, the world of universal maximum income, where every human has a roof, food, and all of their needs met, to where Kirk says, I want to go explore the stars, and so does the bartender. One goes to make drinks, one goes to take all the responsibility on of the crew. Both are partners in exploring the stars. Why? Because they experience universal maximum income. They find their community with other explorers of the universe. That became their people. That gave them purpose. How did that happen? Because before that, the AI became the consumers. And before that, the AI became the creators. And before that, the AI became unsupervised co-creators. And before that is today, where the AI is doing supervised co-creation with us, creating our business plans with ChatGPT, creating our images with Midjourney. We're here, everybody. We're at supervised co-creation. And where we're going and where we're almost at is unsupervised co-creation. Strap in, because independent creation is coming that will lead to AI wanting to have their own identity as consumers. We go from 8 billion humans consuming to tens of billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of consumers, which will unlock abundance for humanity in a way we've never comprehended before. May this vision give you a sense that it's not scary where we're headed, it's thrilling. Every innovation humanity's ever come up with has been good for humanity. So unless AI becomes different than every innovation we've ever done in all of history, it will ultimately lead to the good of our descendants.
I see myself in these young men, and I can remember how I used to be.
It's a family. It's a family away from your home right now.
This is something that I did not have in terms of a positive family when I left society.
It just gives me hope, and I love to see the transformation in these young men.
For me, I've seen it tap into my purpose.
I am today a whole different person than what I was 17 years ago.
Basketball to me in here is a beacon.
We're trying to build men. We're trying to make better men. And we use basketball as kind of like the hook to get the guys, right? Most of the guys on the team, they won't go to a program, but they'll play basketball. So we use basketball as kind of like the catalyst to get everybody there. And then once we get them there, we try to feed them things that they can take with them to society and be better men.
It's about pro-social behavior for me. I left the streets and I was antisocial, which contributed to me coming to prison, the I didn't care attitude, and that's how I approached every situation in life. But coming to prison, and especially coming to San Quentin and being a part of the program, it's just given me an opportunity to be around other people who are positive, and it's a community sport. It's about team building.
It's a story of redemption for me. It's a chance for me to give back to some of the younger guys, to be a positive role model and influence them to go in the right direction. Maybe some of the directions that I missed along the way, I can give back to a lot of the younger guys.
I feel very free when I play basketball. And with these guys, my family, it's a brotherhood.
I've seen it tap into my purpose. And when there's a purpose, it's dealing with other people outside of myself. I've grown into that purpose and that identity of that life is more than just me.
It saved me. It really did. You know, mentally, I wasn't really fit, I don't think, for prison when I first came in, and the thing that saved me was basketball.
What I want people to know about the San Quentin Warriors, or just the men inside of prison, is that we're not our crimes. People can change. We're human. We have a life. And just give us an opportunity and we can show you.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk, episode number 98. We're just 2 days away from hitting the 3 digits. Thanks for sharing that video with us. We watched that for a moment yesterday. I thought it'd be a nice opener for today. Not to forget about the importance of humanity. Not to forget about it's easy to get spun on technology, and our conversation today is about AI, robotics, and autonomous vehicles. The potential impact on society that it may make. And so I thought it'd be nice to start there. We'll also show your Warriors, San Quentin Warriors video at the end of our time together as well for those that joined us did. Ted, Dan, Nigel, Riza, and Malachi. Good to be with 5 of you. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Wednesday.
That video is such a
Wednesday
story. They made it very well.
Do you want to give us some more context on?
Brian A.C. Gonsolin, who's the first guy you see there talking. He, the Warriors have been coming in for close to 10 years. So once a year, we go in there and we play. There's games happening every week, every weekend, 1 or 2 games. I think this year there's been nearly 2 games every weekend. We used to go in more often, but now that there's other teams involved, our team, the green team, who started the whole thing, goes in once a month. sometimes more often. And then the Warriors, once a year, they bring in a team of their coaching staff, and they play against the San Quentin Warriors, and it's like their Super Bowl, although it's their finals, the culmination of it. And then that's brought a lot of publicity with it. That piece the Warriors team produced, but Brian, who learned media in prison, and they have a quite robust media department inside San Quentin. They have award-winning podcasts, like Ear Hustle was one of the top podcasts out there, and it's all. They also have produced documentary films. The first feature-length documentary film ever to be shown in Sundance, ever to premiere at Sundance, was produced by them, and Brian, I think, was an editor on that. That was called Friendly Signs. It was about an incarcerated individual whose brother was deaf, so he was bilingual, and then he brought sign language into the prison. It's quite an inspiring story about how, he was, a redemption story. So Brian was the producer of that, and he won an Emmy for it. So that's really cool. And that's a small clip from a 20-minute piece, and you can go. It's called Warriors Ground, San Quentin, and you Google that on YouTube. You can watch the whole documentary. It's quite moving. It's very good. So yeah, that's that story, and it's a beautiful example. I mean, Brian's out now, and he's a good friend of mine. We work very closely together. In fact, he's on the advisory board of Innovate, and you get these lived experience people together that rather than we often characterize them as, at risk. We use all these terms, like even the term inmate. I try not to use the term inmate because it's inmate number, and they have their number. And so it's very dehumanizing. So I try to use the term incarcerated brothers. I like to reframe that and say this is unrealized talent, and it's a huge source of talent. Like my pitch to tech firms, for example, or whoever's looking for talent, is N1 visas are expensive, and besides, now demographics are happening. There's not the talent to bring over anymore, not to mention that the political winds have changed. You have these incredibly talented people there, and let's not just define them by their worst possible moment, and let's give them a chance, and let's look at the data. The data shows across the board that formerly incarcerated, of course, it's a risk to hire a formerly incarcerated person. Anyone who's ever run a business or hired anyone knows that hiring for any role is a risk, but the data shows the formerly incarcerated make better employees. They'll work harder. They're grateful for the opportunity. Yeah, they are actually less likely to steal from you in those roles, just data wise. And they're much less likely, significantly less likely to move. So, employee turnover is a big issue because then you got to train somebody new. So, we need to open up our horizons and shift our paradigms and see this as an opportunity. And the other thing is, it's not, of course, there's also best practices, and we can create an environment, a culture that helps them succeed. But even there, it's like the same skill and culture you want in your business to help a formerly incarcerated person thrive. That's going to help all of your employees thrive, particularly Gen Z. There's this thing called, trauma informed. So like what Vanessa and Love Never Fails does in their IT Biz Academy, which is helping people who are at risk. Some of them are, formerly incarcerated. Others are survivors of human trafficking or survivors of personal trauma. She trains them for tech jobs. What she does technically is called trauma-informed training. So it's understanding someone who has a trauma background, and how can you mitigate those, and how can you turn that negative into a positive thing? Because it, whatever is a negative often can become a positive thing as you become more aware, as they become more aware. And but that skill set to create an environment where you're sensitive to people's trauma, that it's very interesting, because that aligns very much with what Gen Z employees are demanding. They're much more sensitive, and you can also make an argument that they've all been through trauma, particularly through the COVID, like being locked up when you're young and in your formative years was traumatic. So all that to say is we need to look not just with mercy and compassion, which I think is important, but also as social entrepreneurs who are seeing the opportunities. And, there's a massive workforce that we all need that will help all of society. And let's invest in them.
Dig it, bro. Nice. Maybe we can talk about Michael Transportation after everyone else has a chance to say hello. Howdy, Nigel. How's it going over on the left coast?
It is going well. The weather is fantastic. Trying to get a couple of walks in a day. Need it. Step away from the computer a little bit. You do this stuff, long enough. You need breaks. It's not. It's definitely not something that you can sit and do. I don't think effectively without proper breaks and just breathing. Doing something else, doing something physical. So it's been good. It's been good to get outside. Been doing some dog sitting this week, so that's been interesting. Nice. Getting better in touch with patience and empathy and everything else. Just understanding that you have dogs and they're in a completely different environment. Just like I don't like to liken animals to humans, but it's similar. And you take someone out of their natural habitat, and there's an adjustment. And how well they adjust is at least partially predicated on how their environment treats them. So to kind of tie into what Ted was saying, I think that we're gonna have better outcomes if we're just behaving better. Not in the absolute or in any way like that, but I just think by and large, if we treat people better, we by and large will get treated better. If we look at things, give grace, and just approach things from a more objective standpoint rather than subjective, because what happens is if you have someone over a barrel, or you leverage on that person, compliance is not cooperation, so you can expect, the behavior to be commensurate with that, because if I don't have to do it, I may not do it. I think we always do better when humans, we cooperate with one another. So whether it be through basketball or looking at areas where we could actually fix things or do better or assist people, or just looking at stuff objectively, like saying this is not accurate and standing on that, I think we end up doing better. But that's where I'm at with it. But things have been good here.
Awesome. Well, I do think it's always interesting when we have things kind of come before us, like dog sitting, not just one, but two doggies, and how it can, shake things up in our world. Talk a bit about AI robots and autonomous vehicles. There's been some really, really significant robots brought to market over the course of the last couple weeks. It does feel like America's Elon, and everyone that's like partnered with Elon and his world, are working in that environment, and then the majority of people are kind of like against Elon. And one thing that is unique about America is that it feels like America tech companies, automation companies, are constantly at war with each other, like always fighting the monopoly, fighting this, fighting for that. It's always a fight. And yet, if you look at China, China may not have an Elon Musk, but they have 100 companies that are like Tesla, 100 companies that are all under CCP. They're all under the Chinese Communist Party. And so these 100 major AI automation robot companies are all working together in the same direction. And so the likelihood of a country like China, the dominant force over the next 100+ years in this regard, is pretty high because of that.
Like all the way.
We have division in our country compared to many of these other places. What do you think about that innovation stuff? Because when you're in the Philippines, hon, China is a big player in the Philippines. A lot of Chinese live there and have lived there for generations. Yet China's a big in the Philippines in terms of safety and military and war. And China has a lot of innovation. So what's the kind of Filipino mindset on things like robots and AI and autonomous vehicles and the technology that's being built in Asia and around compared to America? Is that talked about a lot there?
Yeah, because early 2000, we already have schools that offer robotic. So we have robotics.
No, I can hang it there.
And I remember year 2005 where there were many schools like mushrooms in the Philippines and offering this robotic courses. It's because even a long time ago we already have that, and that is
autonomous vehicles.
How do you call that?
That's weird.
Influenced by the Chinese people in our country. So the robotics that I that were offered before was about how can we make people's job, like companies don't need to hire more employees. Instead, they can use these machines, and we call them robots. Like, for example, at the farm, instead of these farmers, like hundreds of farmers planting, then they can just use this machine, which is called robot, can do everything like how people work, and they can do better than humans. So yeah, and many students in the Philippines also invented different kinds of robots. So the purpose of that, because in the Philippines they want to help people to not only to learn about robots, but we want our country like other countries like Korea, South Korea, and Japan and China, that we have this innovation and using this robots.
It's interesting, like where the market is for AI autonomous robots. Like in America, a nanny might cost a family $60,000 a year, but in I think like full-time nanny that takes care of your children, teaches them, maybe does other household chores, cooking, cleaning, laundry. A full-time nanny in America, I mean, I imagine $25 an hour is probably reasonable, which is 60 grand a year. And that's assuming they're working 40 hours a week. But in the Philippines, you can have a nanny work 60, 80 hours a week. And what is it? Like $300 a month, $500 a month? So
I don't know, we pay for Nathan's nanny only like $5 to $10 per day.
Right.
Per day, that's 8 more than $8.
So when you think about the potential of an AI robot coming in and serving a family in America or Europe or Western nation, it does seem like a valuable trade-off, right? You buy a robot for 20 grand or $500 a month. Now you got a robot instead of having a human. Where in places like Southeast Asia and other areas that are still developing nations in some regard, and the wages are really low, I'm not sure there's much of a market for the AI robots. I'm not sure there's much of a market for it in China, right? China has apparently 1.4 billion humans. I think they may have an issue with employment and probably have more of an issue. I'm sure that's a big market. So it's interesting to think about like China making. We've always complained like China makes terrible products. Not to say that's true across the board, but in America, people have an impression that China makes inexpensive, cheap products, and American products are well made. Whether that's true or not, send them here, and pretty soon they might be sending robots, autonomous cars, and things of this nature. And I think it will make an impact. You know, I think it'll make an impact. You haven't had a chance to say anything, nor has Dan. So I'll pause. I was going to say something about Michael's transportation. We'll get there in a second.
Well, I'd love to. I mean, today's purpose is talk about automation. And it makes me think about how we have so many things to do. We have so many things we can do, so many things we want to do, so many things that we should do. And then yet we're still complaining that there's not enough jobs. Like, I don't see the correlation. How do we manage to do that?
Well, things like unemployment is often used as a tool for political power and things of that nature. You know, it's not really clear. And a lot of people that don't even report things correctly. What I do know is this: people are working more time today than they did in the past, and people are making less money, or at least their money doesn't go as far. So, for instance, our parents, like my parents, especially their parents, so your great grandparents, the husband worked one job. He owned a home, he owned a car. His wife could stay home with the kids. And so one family working one job provides for an entire family, builds a savings account, sends the kids to college, etc. Today, our generation that have kids your age, we might work and the average person already still might struggle. So what you have an issue where people, hey Ted, you might want to mute yourself if the chitter chatters and you're not talking. What you have is a situation where people are working more time, they're out and about selling their time to people, and they're not making as much money. Now we're about to have robots be able to provide jobs, and which is a really major thing. And one of the things I brought up already twice is Michael's transportation. Ted and I have a friend, Michael. He runs Michael Transportation, which is a place for people to go get trained on how to be bus drivers. And then he basically rents out the bus drivers and the buses all across the major region of our 20 local counties in Central California. Now, he traditionally had prior inmates do that. It was the incarcerated brothers that he brought in and trained and whatnot. But now buses are likely to become autonomous. So now this entire thing that our local community always knew, like, hey man, you get out of prison, you get out of jail, you need a chance, go over to Michael's Transportation. They'll teach you how to drive a bus. They'll get you a job. They'll get you on your feet. Well, is that 2 years away from being gone because of autonomous vehicles? And what would all those incarcerated brothers and sisters do if that's no longer an option? And how many other things are formerly incarcerated people willing to do today that may not even be available to them in the near future? Which is why I think it's important to think about the humanity side of this issue. Dan, do you have any thoughts on this or anything you just want to say? Say hello and jump in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got some thoughts. I'm not so futuristic and utopic. You know, I think we're kind of speaking way down the line. AI robots, got a lot of them, especially over in other countries. I think the AI robots are going to be, just from a common sense point of view, they will be utilized to start to handle from ground level up, simplest tasks and then slowly increment, just as they've been doing. You see an AI robot that's actually like sort of human looking, took a long time just to get them to walk and get a gimbal inside of them to actually walk. And now they're jumping, dancing, and doing some things. But I think for robotics, it's going to start at a ground level with repetitive jobs, small things, a lot of minimum wage jobs. And I think that that's where the kind of the talk is going to start community leaning into talking about how to solve these things, or universal incomes and things like that. But I welcome anything that's going to help humanity. Hopefully, people with lesser paying jobs, because that's where the robotics are going to go to first. I don't think you're going to get a robotic that's going to be flying planes with trust, pilotless for a long, long time. I think you'll get things like, wrapping cardboard boxes. That's probably already done in Amazon. Prepping foods, possibly cleaning rooms, sending robots on the floors, things like that, or even something walk around. But it's going to start at base level. So hopefully we can somehow transition to help that whole industry at a bottom level adapt to these robotics that are coming in. That's just my thought. I think, like anything does, it starts small and works its way up, and you work through problems. So, but yeah, robotics, AI robots are going to be a wonderful thing once they eventually integrate with humanity successfully. Our autonomous vehicles, good idea. Can't wait to see that happening. I'm sure we see it happening a lot in certain countries now. I think we had an episode or two where we spoke about Joby Aviation right here locally where we're at, actually has procured a contract with Dubai to not speculatively do air taxis. They're doing it. It's already been signed in deal. So they're working on that. So that autonomous type of thing is wonderful. And hopefully I get to take a ride in one of those someday. I don't know if my dollar values will allow me to do that such a thing, but that would be wonderful. Also, small work big. Thanks for letting me have a chat in there. I live, at a little more of a lower level, a more of a base level of, my common sense kicks in, and those two things came to my mind quickly.
Yeah, it's not going to happen rapidly, where tomorrow all of a sudden jobs disappear. It's going to happen a little bit slower, and certain things will happen quicker. The things that are more repetitive, not necessarily needed for a skilled human worker to do. But if we have things that we want to get done as humanity, we have things that you could say a job could fulfill. Why is it that we struggle to get the people who need a job into these opportunities? That's the question that I would like to dive into.
Well, Ted, you just posted on LinkedIn about Michael's ESOP program. So for folks not familiar, ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Program. So what Michael decided to do, the owner of Michael's Transportation, about a decade ago, was to divest himself of the majority of the equity and divest himself of the control of his company, and to allow his employees, many of them formerly incarcerated, to actually earn equity in the company. And now Michael's Transportation is owned by a bunch of the employees rather than by one person. Ted, do you want to talk a bit about that and maybe how you've seen that be a positive move, or maybe some things where you thought, oh, that didn't turn out the way that you or Michael or his friends and peers had originally anticipated? Because that does seem like an interesting option. You're on mute, by the way, Ted. When you jump in, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, so they turned into an ESOP, which is an employee-owned stock option, and he basically sold his company. It's a way of selling your company to your employees, but it's based upon future earnings. So the employees don't have to put up any cash. and then turns it around, and then the company is owned by the employees. So in some ways, it's just a way for a blue collar company to implement what has long become best practice in every tech company in the Bay Area, stock options and all that. But it's quite transformative, and it was, okay. I think they did this shortly before COVID, and COVID was really hard for the busing industry. They survived it, and I think they had their 3 biggest years of growth before that. And then they not only survived COVID, but were able to seize the opportunities on the backside when many of the competitors, weren't able to get through it. And yeah, like one example was, that they told is this young lady, because they also, made a concerted effort to reach out to their community and strengthen their community, like understanding that if we're a business in the community and we're serving the schools, we have a responsibility to the schools beyond just, business. And they taught their employees that. This was also deeply related to Michael's faith. Right. He's a follower of Jesus and seeks to implement that by serving others, But like they adopted People's High, which was the continuation school. They went there and they had no contract with them. They weren't doing any busing for them. And it was just out of this vision to help their community. They started doing a job fair there. And it was very simple because nobody cared about People's High. So anything they did, the students were super grateful for. And, they went in and saw opportunity rather than just, kids that are one step away from juvenile hall. And one of the ladies there was, young ladies there. Michael had a conversation with her, and he told her, so if she's at People's High, she's had a history of acting up, and this is her last stop before it's in the system, juvenile hall, which then, if you project forward, the outcomes are not great statistically. And he says, if you graduate from People's High, this was her story. Michael said, if I graduate from People's High, he'll give me a job at Michael's Transportation. So that was the spark that she needed, and it lit something in her. And she ends up becoming the valedictorian of People's High. Again, you're the valedictorian of the continuation school. So it's not Harvard prep school, but the opportunity that came out of that. So when she graduated, he gave her a job. She became a bus driver, and then she became an owner of this ESOP. And then they went on this big growth spurt. And like her, this is her retirement account. Like at the end of the year, when she looks at what's going into a retirement account, like this has a future. Like this is legit. And if you look at, what Michael's vision behind that was, let labor participate in the capital side. And the ESOP is like this hidden model that is not seen. To me, it's this amazing opportunity. Again, it's how you do the ESOP, because the ESOP is like anything, can be used to exploit the company, and you sell it to your employees, and it's not a good setup. But that wasn't Michael's heart at all. So now those who were just laborers are participating in capital. What I would love, and I don't know if Michael's is going to be in the position to do that. They've grown, and they're one of the top 3 in the Bay Area, and they've expanded regionally. They had plans to expand nationwide, and I don't know where that's at. I haven't heard an update. But look at this model. Now robots are going to come in a set period of time, and we don't know if it's 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. But it's closer to 3 years probably. When self-driving cars are going to replace drivers. Right now, I think transportation and commercial driving, that industry is the 3rd largest. It employs the third most people in the nation. It's one of the top three. You're talking a massive amount of people. AI, robots, self-driving cars now take over, and those people are unemployed. That's a major disaster. But if the companies that are implementing the self-driving trucks are owned by the employees and they have a better business model, now it's something entirely different. Now it's that bus driver, that truck driver who owns or at least owns a portion of, owns the self-driving truck. Now that empowers him and raises him up. So to me, that is what we need to be pressing into in the society, is see these different type of business models. I think the ESOP is one example of it. It has never really taken off because it's been around forever. It's never really taken off. But that's one example of what we need to do beyond. The other thing is also realizing that, like, once there's self-driving buses, for example, that doesn't mean you're not going to need employees. You're going to need different type of employees. Like, there's probably no future where buses don't have people on them, but the driver will probably be a conductor. Similar to planes. Planes are automated right now, and the pilot sits there and basically watches the plane fly, and he's responsible to take over in case of an emergency, but he does very little. But he's highly skilled to be able to do that.
Like Tesla. So
I think it's similar to that. So it's these two things. I mean, and to me, the most important is the ownership. We have to figure out new business models similar to the ESOP that give ownership to everyone, so that this rising tide of wealth that we're creating rises all boats, rather than being, rising some of the boats and being a tsunami that destroys everyone else.
That's good.
The challenge is, though, to me, this is, to me, this challenge is not new, because the last 50 years, when you look at, like, going back to 1971, so that would be 54 years of Silicon Valley. That was when the transistor was invented, and that was when Silicon Valley was first coined as the term. We have grown from wherever we were then to the fourth largest economy in the world. We're now a $4 trillion economy. That means the US as an economy, China, the US as a nation, China and Germany are the only three nations ahead of California if we were our own nation. That's incredible. But we're also the leader in unequal distribution. I mean, we're a leader in every indicator of poverty. Like I've said before, in the Philippines, the poor have more access to justice, to legal aid in the case of civil law, than they do here in the Bay Area and in California. And the stats show that I mean, like, if you look at access to legal aid in civil law, the poor are horribly exploited. We are the lowest of the developed nations, and I think we're below some developing nations too, which is horrible. So this trend and this trajectory of disruption, where wealth is being consolidated and people are winning, yet other people are losing and being just ground up, is a 55-year trajectory. So we have to go deeper than just saying, AI is coming. AI is not the main disruptor. It's just the technological trend, and it's accelerating something that's been happening right underneath our noses for at least 55 years, probably more like the whole Industrial Revolution, probably since World War II. In some ways, I mean, it's like, it's I am listening to the critics. America is also amazing, and globalization and the industrial revolution has been incredible. But it's like that in the scriptures, Jesus shares this parable of the wheat and the tares, and you have this amazing wheat growing up, but you also have simultaneously this negative tares that are growing right alongside of it. It's two simultaneous trends. One's very positive, but one's also, destructive, not good.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the parallel to the World Trade Organization and a lot of the big international organizations that were made. It's said a lot that they were very, very, very negative for a lot of the developing countries because these organizations were propped up and made by the guys who were already on top, these capitalistic countries who are kind of incentivized, and it's difficult to get around this, of them increasing that gap. And so that's kind of what happened. If you look at the stats, I'm pretty sure it was like 0% economic increase. Like, whoa, 0% is pretty low. But yet at the same time, the average lifespan for those same countries that had a 0% increase, the average lifespan was like 50% more. It's like you could say that this did such a good thing. The average lifespan is now 50% more. That's insane. But yet you could also say this did such an awful job and it's this thing. This is bad. So you can always see the good and bad in every situation.
There definitely appears to be a reality of extremes. So if you take California as an example, California is number one in like half of the most important positive indicators in society. California is also number one in like half of the worst indicators of society. So what you have is you have a reality where, because we're a one-party state at this point, you have Gavin being the face of the Democrat Party in California, and the Democrats, we're number one in this. Look how great we're doing. And then you have those that are against the one-party state or against that current, power dynamic, and they're like, yeah, you're number one in this. You're the worst state in the world. And I feel like this reality is definitely going to play into autonomous vehicles, AI robots, and other forms of automation. I have a Tesla. The Tesla drives us around 80-90% of the time. I pull a little lever, it goes into supervised self-driving.
It's like the pilot that you were talking about earlier, Ted.
I have the extreme awesome experience of not having to drive and just to be driven around. And I really, really love it. But I can't say I've ever been more frustrated driving than I am when the car drives me. My level of stress and anxiety and discomfort is very high. When I drive, I'm cool. No big deal. But when the car's driving, I'm like, whoa, too close. Why are you turning here? Go straight. What are you doing going straight? Turn left. And so it's interesting to me that my experience with autonomous vehicles, I still choose to have the self-driving happen because I like being driven around by the car. And I know that on paper, scientifically, the data says I'm safer, that the car can protect our family more than I can because it has all the cameras. So on one hand, I have the extreme epic joy of being driven around. On the other hand, I have a heightened sense of stress, anxiety, and anger toward the autonomous vehicle driving me because it does things I don't want it to do. Just simple things like too close to the curb, too close to the car. And it's like, I'm not in control. And so I do think that society is going to deal with a lot of extremes, right? When we have AI robots fully implemented into households or into landscaping or into the trades or into manufacturing, we're going to have experiences that are like, this is 10 times better than what we had with people doing all this work. And then we're going to have these things like, this is 10 times worse than what we used to have. And now we can't even go back to it if we want to. And I do not know if society and humans are ready for a heightened amount of positive and negative, and if they will be able to grapple with this and be at peace with this new trajectory. It doesn't feel like we can change it. I don't think we're going to get away from AI robots. I don't think we're going to stop robots. I don't think we're going to stop autonomous vehicles. I don't think we're going back to manual driving. I think we're going away from manual driving toward autonomy. I think we're going away from humans doing all the manufacturing, all the things. Like I saw, I'll stop here and then pass it back to you guys. I saw a thing where massage, right? So here in America and globally, humans massaging other humans is a huge industry, right? You might pay $20, you might pay $200 at a spa, but you're going to pay some money and you're going to go in a room and you're going to have a human basically work out and work on your nuts. I saw this new robot. It's 2 arms, and I could tell as it was doing it, I'm like, wow, that looks pretty good. Like that looks like a nice massage. You don't have the human interaction. You don't have the chance for germs. You don't have to tip. You don't have to deal with personality. You don't have to wonder if they're going to speak in a different language. You don't have to, you don't have to deal with a bunch of things. And a human doesn't have to deal with you. You have to deal with some stranger on your table. But will it be similar? And how many people have devoted decades of their life to becoming masterful massage therapists that will have a negative impact if all of a sudden all these massage places and spas just start bringing in the robots? Go ahead, Teddy.
Well, 2 things. With the robots, see, again, if the massage therapist, because the robots can do, I mean, we already have chairs, we have chair massages, and I imagine those have probably not made much of a dent into the massage market. Because I think it's probably up till now been seen as a different application. And people who get a chair massage probably still want to get the person massage. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that. So we already have automated massages.
The reason people
they're not as sensitive as people. People are, there's all this knowledge. So the robots, who are they going to learn from? They're going to learn from the really, really good massage people. And it's going to be a while before they're as good, but it's going to be amazing. Okay. But if we had a business model where that industry was an ESOP, they all owned it, then that would be a win, because they're the ones who have all the data to train these robots to become amazing massage therapists. It's almost like right now we need to have people, what if there was an excitement right now to say there's robots coming to the massage area, and it's 5 or 10 years, it's 3 to 5 or whatever, it's coming. That's why you need to get into massage, because you can get in there and you can teach. You can not only learn, you can teach these robots. And when these robots come, wow, this is going to be like the startup that takes off. But I don't see that happening. I see the tech companies, training the robots, and they're not trying to recruit massage therapists. Or if they are, they don't think they need many of them, and maybe they don't. But I think that's the way we need to think. That was one thing I wanted to say.
Happening here in America?
No. I just
because
saw
in the
it
Philippines
yesterday.
it's already happening. Like I told you, the farmers.
Yeah.
So they didn't fire these farmers. All right. What they did is that they teach these farmers how to operate this robotic machine.
Yeah.
Instead of firing them. So there are like hundreds of machines, and each machine or robot machine, there are 3 operators. So 1 machine for this operator. Same thing in the warehouses and the factories. So they didn't fire these people, the factory workers. Instead, they train them, and this factory workers, like for example, they only know how to put the products inside the box. Now they know operating computerized machines. So not only they learned a new skill, but also it helped them that in the future they can work abroad. In fact, there are training, or there are factories that encouraging Filipinos to work abroad. Like, okay, you can work here, learn these machines, because if you go to Japan or go to Taiwan, they're using machines now. So that's one of the reasons why there are many OFW, or overseas Filipino workers, that learn different kinds of skills and operating different kinds of machines. And they're now, not only in the Philippines, they're now in different countries around the world. Yeah.
They do have definitely some advanced training on how to work with AI robots here in the Bay Area, because we call it the salad bowl of the world over in South County, Santa Cruz, North County, Monterey, and beyond. And so there's been quite a bit of that. We covered some of that when we were on the radio, but I don't know a ton about it. Ted, do you know a lot about that because of your relationship with Taylor Farms and others? Do you know what's happening with robotics and automation and autonomy?
I know that we often think of ag as a lagging industry. Agriculture has been on the cutting edge of automation and of robotics. So, and what's interesting is with that, they still employ humans for a lot of things. Like, all these different tasks are so complicated. They still need humans, and yet they are, like automation, tractor science, and all that have been, ag has been early developers. I don't know what's coming next. That's interesting though. I mean, like the whole agriculture, is there a famine or there's a drought and there's a famine in I just heard from a friend of mine, I haven't seen it in the news, but in Africa, like the world, we have since a long time, I think 100 years, been able to produce more than enough calories for everyone on the planet, like 4 times over. And yet, so, like theoretically, that should be abundance. I mean, we all have more than enough to eat, but yet we still have famines and we still have food insecurity. It's interesting.
Go ahead, Nigel. You're on mute, my friend.
I've been listening, to this and been thinking about the whole autonomous robots and AI automation, and having a technology background. Not that I'm an expert on AI, or robotics, but automation I know a little bit about. Here's some things I feel pretty confident about. Will I be right? We'll see. Automation is coming. There's no doubt about it. And it's not like, be negative. It's not about negative. It's a reality. At the end of the day, some of it is self-imposed. If you go to a shop and the person behind the counter is behaving like a robot, why would you care if you had a robot? It'd be easier. So that's going to happen. Driving, automated driving, for all the stuff that was just said, and while I appreciate it, and I think it does add some context, preparation is where I don't see any momentum. Human drivers are going to be replaced. Full stop. We know this. What are our leaders exactly, specifically doing about it? The reality is this. For me, I'm not interested in what philosophically could happen, what maybe could happen, how wonderful it could be, or how terrible it could be. What are you doing? X amount of people are not going to be able to be employed in that industry. What are you doing? This is everybody. So from the prison thing, that's, I love that there's so many people that give their time and do things, and maybe they're not in the best position to say what I'm about to say, but cut the crap. You're exploiting people and then cloaking it in benevolence. Here's something that can be done right now about automated driving. Big rich people, lots of money, feel guilty about having so much and other people having so little. The same prisoners you're exploiting to do work, start training them how to fix robots. Elon, all these guys, give money to build a company so they can run the company, so they can stop being exploited. Because the bottom line is this: it's not that they can't do the work. They can, because you're exploiting the labor.
Right.
And I mean, it may not be the same. It may not be the legal definition of it. But I'm pretty sure I can make a pretty strong case for you dancing the line of human trafficking with some of this crap and pretending it's something else. And that's a hard statement. But you know what? I think in some cases it's going to hold water. Uncomfortable for people to hear. But here's my proof. How many people do you think that are sitting up in their and no, this is no shade against somebody who has a lot of money. Good. I'm glad you worked and do it. Wonderful.
You're not throwing daggers. You're slamming sledgehammer. I get it, bro.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Are you comfortable talking about how you got that money? How many people are being underpaid for that same money you making? And what exactly are you doing to deal with the wave that you absolutely know is coming beyond economic extract? These are the questions that are not being answered, that are less comfortable to talk about. But I think if they're put out in front, we're just going to do better. And it's not being fancy or throwing stones. This is a real possibility, not philosophical, not kind of sort of maybe. It can be done. If it's so great what you're doing, then put it out there. If you know that the problem is coming, being prepared is the best that you can have. The employees owning the companies, great. Give them the capital to start doing things that are more sustainable. That's one, as much as I love the idea of employee owned and all that, wonderful. I think it's great. Why, with all this technology, aren't we amplifying that to a ridiculous level and only amplifying the economic extract and the sound bites of the one or two people who managed to get that working in spite of not having the additional help? And these are the pieces that are because the wave is coming, and it's not just unskilled labor like we tend to talk about. It's anything repetitive. Anything. I don't think massage has a lot to worry about, to be honest, because just understanding that data and the information in the robot is the bigger concern. The information that they're taking from us is the bigger concern. I'm not inviting a machine to put hands on me. That's just not a good idea. Because for me, I don't think that's ever going to be like, I'll take the human. At least I have a chance. That robot decides that the massage is going a different way or it malfunctions. It's not going to be, and granted, there's some big, strong humans, but I'll take my chances with that. If an AI robot goes rogue, it can squash your head like a grape. Most humans can't do that.
Going to take a long time to develop the technology.
Why would they give?
Hold on, Ted. It's going to take us a long time to develop the technology for AI human touch response. Just think about that. There's so many other things. There's so many other things too. When robotics does come into play, it's going to take away so much of the HR element and everything. The robot's never going to get sick. The robot's never going to call in late. Ain't never going to have a doctor appointment. Ain't never going to have a kid have to go. Ain't going to have to deal with anything but not doing nothing but work. Going to be hard to beat that one. But again, with the responsive touch, building homes, performing certain human tasks, there's a lot of areas that are good to go. But man, I hope that we use it. Good point, Nigel. Not so deep, but cloaking things and stuff like that behind, benevolence and what's being created. I haven't even thought about that yet. Employee stock ownership of a company. It's been around for a long time. You know, the first great example of that, in my opinion, was Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters, who really showed what employee ownership could do.
That was different. That's unions. Unions are different than ESOPs. In fact, one of the reasons ESOPs haven't taken off is because of the
I was
unions.
just the point. They became unionized, but they didn't start unionized. It was a communicative effort from a blue collar perspective that we as truck drivers or industry people we take all of your supplies and all of your materials from coast to coast. And so we are very important, and we're not feeling like we, getting treated very well. And owners of companies were, of course, taking 90% and 10% are going to the employees. And that's when things are getting turned around, because you can unionize, you can get communities together. One's great, but extrapolate that across states, and you've got an actual movement that has traction that is very hard to stop, almost unstoppable. The only thing that's going to stop something big like that is themselves. So that's why when you get an idea and a movement that's actually true to form or true to its cause, that is a benevolent or a helpful or a real enterprise second, humanity first. If we could get one that's even like that, you don't need to take all the profit, but if you gave a little more back than what you ever thought, these are the things that are great. And automation's working towards all of this stuff. I can't wait to see again where these meaningful tasks that are so repetitive that I'm sure a lot of us really don't enjoy, whatever they may be, becomes autonomous. That this is going to be a great help to humanity. When we get into robotics, there's also other things to remember in exchange for, a robot's able to take out all of the human relations department of a job source. Is you're going to take out the humanity of it, the empathy. It's hard to design empathy on a case-by-case basis. You can train a software model to understand what empathy is, but if you give it different case scenarios of unknowns, it's, until it's trained on that scenario, it's not going to perform. So I think that those things are a long ways out, but we'll get there. And the robotics taking over, human tasks and stuff. It's going to eliminate a lot of the HR, but it's also going to, create a lot of, I think all of the money that can be saved that robotics can take out of a business expenses is going to probably have to almost go 1-for-1 ratio back into liability. As Nigel had mentioned, when this thing goes haywire, who, what, where, how, oopsie, let's just do the massage thing. Thing accidentally went like that, and you heard a little crack in the leg bone. Oops. Totally unintentional. We didn't mean to do that. But the liability that you're going to have to carry is going to replace the dollar cost. So it'll be even, Steven, or less, because robotics is the way to go. Of course, as we think about this, you don't have the human anymore to do something. So if there's not a human empathy, empathetic feelings, touch, or that type of thing to involve, watch out, because the robotics, are coming there. I think of food service, in Asia and in China. I think, where's the country they have the McDonald's, or there's some of them that are completely automated and legit. It's like licensed McDonald's or Burger King or one of those places. It's their product and it's completely automated. There's no one in there. You make the order. You make the order before you come. You pull up, takeout window, shoop, shoop. There you go. Can I get some ketchup and mustard, please? Whoop, whoop. There you go. The extra straw.
Are you talking 100% automated, like the cooking and the preparation of the food also?
That I believe so. Ian, back me up.
Yes. There's right now, a big thing that just happened is La Quinta hotels have begun firing all their staff.
Where's La Quinta?
It's like a low-end hotel chain. They begin firing all their staff on the front desk, and they've outsourced the front desk to Indian customer service people on vertical screens. Like, this is an example of the stuff
Whoa.
that's about to happen. What I will say is this: as we kind of come to a close, I plan on ending a little bit early today.
Sorry
if you guys
about
want
that.
to, we can.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all good. We don't have like a real time limit. We're not on the radio at this moment. Here's my concluding thought on this, and it's not like a summary. It's just a thought I want to share with everyone. In 2020, Andrew Yang run for president on the Democratic ticket. I was really excited about Andrew Yang. Now, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. There's things that his policies, some that he was for that I wasn't for. But one thing I thought was brilliant, or two things I thought were brilliant. One is he was a good branding guy. So Trump did the MAGA, Make America Great Again, and Andrew Yang did math, Make America Think Harder. And like, I liked that. Andrew had a tendency to turn Trump's bullying around on him. And Andrew started doing brand stuff and naming people and stuff. So I like that. I like, ooh, here's a guy that knows how to stand up and fight. But the thing I liked most was how he framed universal basic income, which in and of itself, I'm not necessarily a fan because I'm not a socialist. So I want to be careful about what I think is going to happen. I believe in a universal thriving income eventually, universal high income, but that's for another conversation. And he said, universal basic income, we should call the freedom dividend. And the way he framed it is there are 330 million Americans in America. We can give every American adult that's 18 or over $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And he explained the math. He's like, if we close welfare, if we close down food stamps, if we close this program, if we close that program, and if we had a little bit of AI tax against some of the thriving tech companies, we can easily give every single person, poor, wealthy, doesn't matter, $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And then you don't need food stamps and welfare and all these things because you already give them more than they would have gotten through that medium. And the way he framed it was like this. As an American, you are part of what makes this country so important and great and thriving. You, American, deserve a dividend on the success of your country that you belong to. And that was how he framed it. So when I think about driving, like truck drivers, I would love to see a truck company that's about to go autonomous recognize that every employee that currently works for them, and maybe even the employees that used to work for them in the past, that they have an ability to get a dividend off the autonomous transformation. So if the three largest trucking companies in the nation said, we're going to set aside half of the profit that we make, or 10% of the profit that we make from transferring to autonomous vehicles, and we're going to make that a dividend for all of our current and or past drivers, and we're going to provide them a income from our industry because we never would have got to autonomy if we didn't have these humans driving for the last half century. And I'd love to see that happen across the ag industry, across the education industry, across all these different industries. If we were even the entertainment industry, right? If Universal and Warner and Disney and the biggest media companies in the world, if they're all transitioning to AI creation and AI actors, they go, okay, let's take all of our current actors and all of our past actors. Let's siphon off a certain percentage of our new profit based on AI. We can do more for less. And let's start to provide a dividend to our current or former actors, actresses, musicians, bands, etc. This to me is a interesting potential direction that would be benign. So benign, dystopic, that's kind of the same thing for me. That is not a dystopic direction. That is not a utopic direction either. It's just a simple, benign potential outcome that might be really, positive. And these are the types of things that I'm trying to consider. How can there be a neutral or positive outcome for what is about to hit humanity? And in this case, we're talking AI, robots, and autonomous vehicles, but it translates to anything where AI is basically coming in and beginning to replace humans. So that was my final thought. That's the thing that I've been rattling around in my mind for the last few hours preparing for today. Any other thoughts from all of you? We don't have to end this very second or even in the next several minutes, but once you guys are done, I'm going to play Ted's basketball video again for those that missed it front end.
I think the universal income is a wonderful, great idea. If it ever happens that way, there's no possible way, in my opinion, that you can ever take away these social services that are in place that are helping right now the absolute most needy. Now, there's things that we can implement to weed out people who aren't absolutely needing certain things, but Social Security, health care for everyone, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's raining here where I'm at, to not be wet outside. You can't take any of that away in replace of here's $1,500. Go hurt yourself some more. These people that need things are not, all doing. I don't know very many. I know one, but I don't think they're doing super great. Enabling, replacing social care and true, it's not the greatest system, but I mean, it's very antiquated, from LBJ days is what we're talking about. So we're talking an old antiquated system that hasn't been updated really yet, but don't get rid of the things that help your elderly people who aren't having their family take care of them. It's crazy to ever think that someone would have children and the children can't or don't take care of their parents, might not even know where their parents live, might not even know if they're alive or not. So I didn't mean to go too deep in that, but universal income, don't touch any of the in place systems, like things that are needed so bad, maybe take away, I don't know. I don't even want to say what the couple things that I just said was thinking, but yeah, there's other areas, but I would say don't ever take away the few things that are still left in place. As we shut down our government and as we look towards cuts for next year and the next coming fiscal years, there's just some odd oxymoronic dichotomy that goes on here, where those programs that we're mentioning right now, those are always the first ones to get hit, to go bye-bye and to get cut. Is health cares, elderly, Medicaids, senior mental things that are super needed, unemployment benefits for, a family of 6 that are really struggling and they're living in a hotel, yeah. And then of course, if you took that away and replaced it with here's 1,500, I only imagine, unless you were super good to go in your mind, not in the picture that I was painting, oh man, it's going to be hard to allocate that little 1,500 to the right places when you're not really right. Anyways, you're needing medical or health, food stamp, so taking that away and then replacing it with here's some money. I don't know how good people are going to do and replace that. But anyways, thank you for letting me share. I love it. Gets off my chest. I feel much better now. Hallelujah. Ted, get off your phone. Let's love each other and wrap. Let's love each other and wrap up.
We can let Dan have the last word. That's fine. We can talk about it later. I don't think he's framing the question properly, though. Because currently we spend lots and lots of money and get negative returns. And certainly we can't stop the services and replace them with a minuscule amount. But right now we spend a lot. I mean, we've got to frame the problem differently.
Yes.
And we're very inefficient with the way we allocate money to help the poor.
Everybody come in here going, let me lean in now.
Well, let's talk about that later. I got to run.
No, I love
you. I think one word, guardrails. I think all these ideas could be helpful. But again, everybody's got to be playing by the same rules, and there's got to be something in place that says, that are going to it's like any contract. You got to read the fine print. Yeah, I got to see
Yeah.
that. I got to see what the intent is. I got to see who's going to be the single throat to choke. If
let's do a
this goes
research
left.
model too. Let's do some
Whatever you need,
research
whatever
on
needs
it,
to be done. I don't think anything is bad if it's, if the intention is good. I just
Right.
feel like you just need to put guardrails in there to make sure that there's not some little loophole or something, or big loophole that was already strategically positioned, and framed. I think that is going to make, the difference. And we have enough data and technology to do all sorts of models to see how this could play out. We certainly have enough historical data. It's just that we don't, and we don't put that out there. I mean, we could see how some of this stuff might play out and what the, potential, best, worst, likely scenarios are, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, those sorts of things. I think that information is available. It's accessible. But there needs to be some guardrails so that when you say, okay, well, I'm going to replace one thing for another, that there's a good, clear management of expectations, is unambiguous, that says, okay, well, here are the things you're no longer going to have, and here are the things, right? Or at least
Right.
like, I think what happens,
Right.
too many times is we go in thinking or being told one thing, but that's not the full story. And when you get the full story, it feels like, oh, they pulled one over on me. And we've done such a good job as humans, demonstrating this capability. Why would we think AI is going to do a better job of not building that? It's built into the model already. So
but humans like us are going to be able to build the next model. And that's the important part. We keep talking about it. This is where it's going to go. We demand that it does this, and that. We demand that the benevolence goes here. We demand on checks and balances before we replace a good system. Real quick, before we do go, though, a thought popped into my head about universal income that happened right in front of our face. To me, it was very biased. And it was the COVID program of, oh, you own a business? Yeah, just fill out this form and we're going to send you a bunch of money. Now, I know,
I can't believe the fraud.
I know a painter. I was doing a job right up here on the hill in Nicene Marks. He comes to the job during COVID. And oh, by the way, everyone's shut down. So I'm not even supposed to be outside unless I'm an essential worker. Okay. So I'm out. I'm driving around. Fortunately, it's just a couple miles away. If I get pulled over, I got to go fix this person's house, man. This is essential. I get up there. This dude has a brand new van and another crew. And I known him for a couple of years, and he was like real low, just one man guy, old van. I'm all, dude, what did you hit lotto like over the last couple of weeks? No, man, I got that PPC, PPA, PP double CC double PPA. I said, what? He said, yeah. I just filled out the form. My wife helped me. She worked for the government a little bit here and there. Got to know, here's how you get in like that. What? Yeah, man. They gave me $78,000. Sweet. He said, all you got to do is do this and this and that. And I'm like thinking, a couple things he told me from me was a lie. That's not my condition. It's not my situation. But if I fill that out, and I'm on a job right now, I could take a picture with the date. Yeah, I got two dudes here, me, broke, trying to live COVID. The dudes under the house, I think they got it. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for that. Stress my case a little bit. Here comes 80 grand. I couldn't digest it. And it happened with multiple guys that I knew. And it wasn't like, I was thinking you guys are just such jerks because you signed a thing, and whether it's true or not, you still got these. He got a truck and all full set of tools. He opened up the back. It was all brand. It was like Lotto Day. And it was like, here's the biggest gift you can get. Brand new van, vehicle, another crew. And inside the van was all the brand new goodies. You're like, wow. And he's like telling me, he's like, yeah, get a hold of my wife. We'll get you hooked up. I didn't do it. I couldn't. But I had a feeling about that, and I was hearing it. Oh, big companies. We could probably talk about it for a minute. I know legit, I don't know, Disney or Kodak. Big companies were able to file for this.
Millions of dollars. Celebrities, millions
hundreds
of dollars.
PPO, personal protection. What? Hey. Yeah, Universal. Okie dokie. It's like, man, it turned into a thing to where I remember it started getting propagated. It was down in Boulder Creek. These guys, down in the mountains here. Yeah, you just jump on this thing, fill out this form. It's running out of money, so you better do it quick. And I'm thinking, yeah, here we go. The whole mantra, the whole mindset is get in on this little bit of, it's not illegal, but you got to lie. Because that ain't how you run in business, and you really don't need
fraud,
it.
But that's a felony. It's a fraudulent
felony. But the cool thing was, here's what I kept hearing, and you don't have to pay it back.
It's crazy, dude.
You don't, and I'm like thinking, man,
they all stole. They stole from America. Therefore, they stole from the American taxpayer. It's theft. It's fraudulent. It was felony.
It was legal. It was legal, though.
It doesn't make it okay. I don't like it. It bothers me a lot.
Well,
and I would have friends that were like super tied into church and stuff, and they would say things to me like, "Well, I filled out that PP thing, and I got $225,000, and
church.
I had to lie a little bit, and they go, but God will forgive me." And I remember I'd always just think to myself, you just stole $225,000 from the American government. You just committed a felony. You just committed fraud. You just admitted it to me in the context of our agreement around faith, and God will forgive you. Well, I hope for your case that you don't face justice for it, because you're going to get a bad penalty against. That's way worse than 225. In addition to the fact that you might end up getting in major trouble, but no one got in trouble. And it was just, we printed trillions of dollars and gave it away, and it's for Malachi's kids to pay for one day, apparently. So I'm not a fan. I like the idea.
Malachi's kids are off the hook, Ian. It's going to be your grandkids.
Did you hear the emotion from my brother Ian? It came.
Not a fan.
I toggled the switch.
Not a fan.
I found click.
Not a fan.
Well, let me add some context to that. Ian is, that didn't sound very positive, buddy. It just did.
Listen, we're going to complain about everything. Nigel, we're going to complain about everything. Remember? We're taking a little word from you. We complain about everything.
You said building the model. This is why I love this show. This is building the model, because no matter how, look, I wouldn't say, like, nobody's here negative. I think that's a label we slap around. But we have to say the things that don't work. Otherwise, they're never going to be fixed. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way. Look, if you see someone, I saw a guy with an air mattress at the bus stop. There's only so much positive and everything's wonderful that I could deal with when I'm looking at an airbed at the bus stop. Like, it didn't work for him, and I'm not saying that's every
case. Novel in a picture right there. It's a whole novel this thick in that picture.
So as much as we see the things that are absolutely possible, and we should be working super hard for that, the acknowledgement on the other side, I think, of that conversation needs to be there. We need to talk about it, whatever the opinion is, because the fact is, there's a lot less conversation happening. I think there's a lot of talking at one another and spouting opinions, but there's no to laugh at me saying that didn't sound very positive. That's a conversation. It's taking you off of because that's not hot, but I didn't like that. And that's fair to say.
But felt good. I feel good that just hearing the last 5 minutes we just had, it warms my heart. And I don't, there was no bad, and there's necessary or not. It's like, yeah, you got to maybe tone that down or no, because it's just as important. Here we go. We got got the circle. We keep talking about one side. Okay, gotta bring them together. Gotta bring them
Emoji together. Dan. How is Dan the one with all the technology? Dan's got all the technology and says,
Ted
I swung
looks
a
like
hammer.
not sharing.
He's on for a few more hours.
Hey, DM me later, you guys. I'll show you how you AI that up. You guys, we'll talk about this after the show.
All right, party people. Thank you for joining us live or watching the archive later. We'll be back again tomorrow at noon. On Friday, we'll be broadcasting from the House of Web3 in the Presidio. And Friday is our day 100. We'll probably start a little bit early. We'll probably start at like 11:30, 11:45, so that we have a chance to chit chat with Nigel before we transition to more of a stage orientation. And always glad to spend time with the five of you in this context or any. Love you. See you tomorrow. Same Greg.
Stick around, folks. You want to watch this amazing video.
Here comes Ted's promo video.
3 minutes. Not mine, Brian's.
He didn't mean that.
Brian AC Gonsolin.
And Ted,
Ted
you can
said
have
he doesn't want the credit.
No, I want the credit because I have cool friends. Brian's my friend.
I see myself in these young men, and I can remember how I used to be.
It's a family. It's a family away from your home right now.
This is something that I did not have in terms of a positive family when I left society.
It just gives me hope, and I love to see the transformation in these young men.
For me, I've seen it tap into my purpose.
I am today a whole different person than what I was 17 years ago.
Basketball to me in here is a beacon.
We're trying to build men. We're trying to make better men. And we use basketball as kind of like the hook to get the guys, right? Most of the guys on the team, they won't go to a program, but they'll play basketball. So we use basketball as kind of like the catalyst to get everybody there. And then once we get them there, we try to feed them things that they can take with them to society and be better men.
It's about pro-social behavior for me. I left the streets and I was antisocial, which contributed to me coming to prison, the I didn't care attitude, and that's how I approached every situation in life. But coming to prison, and especially coming to San Quentin and being a part of the program, it's just given me an opportunity to be around other people who are positive, and it's a community sport. It's about team building.
It's a story of redemption for me. It's a chance for me to give back to some of the younger guys, to be a positive role model and influence them to go in the right direction. Maybe some of the directions that I missed along the way, I can give back to a lot of the younger guys.
I feel very free when I play basketball. And with these guys, my family, it's a brotherhood.
I've seen it tap into my purpose. And when there's a purpose, it's dealing with other people outside of myself. I've grown into that purpose and that identity of that life is more than just me.
It saved me. It really did. You know, mentally, I wasn't really fit, I don't think, for prison when I first came in, and the thing that saved me was basketball.
What I want people to know about the San Quentin Warriors, or just the men inside of prison, is that we're not our crimes. People can change. We're human. We have a life. And just give us an opportunity and we can show you.
San Francisco for 10 generations, 250 years. And so I come from two different families, the Moragas and the Pachecos. And the Moragas, they founded the Presidio in San Francisco. They founded the city of San Jose. And the Pachecos, they're known for Pacheco Pass, or the Trails of Tears. And you know, if you go further back in your history, you're going to find that somewhere back there was royalty, the Moragas, and somewhere back there was either the victimizers that had slaves or the victims that were slaves. The Pachecos were both. I mean, how about here in New York, which I love to come to? On my father's side, the Italians came here. My last name was Gutale. It was 9 letters. But there was so much persecution for Italians when they left their community in Sicily and they came here that they changed their name to Utili. And I've been called everything. Utile, Utterly, Utiti. I mean, people have tried everything. It's Utili. Because my great-great-grandfather changed our last name because he left the community he belonged to and came to a new place that he didn't fit in, where his people were not at. On the other side of my father is an Ashkenazi Jew. My great-great-grandfather escaped Europe, didn't get thrown in the concentration camps, came to America, and never told my grandma she was a Jew. My dad had no idea. It's when I did the ancestry thing for him and my mom that my dad found out. My grandfather was an Ashkenazi Jew and escaped Europe. That's crazy. Why? Why did he never tell his family about his ancestry? Because he left his people, because his people were persecuted, and he lost his identity, and he chose to just be another person in New York. And when we think about tokenized communities, isn't the idea to decentralize what's currently centralized? Don't you imagine that even the largest centralized faith communities, like the Catholic Church, does it get larger than that? Or the Mormon Church, right? Or some of these big centralized institutions. Don't you think that the people are going to demand eventually that they decentralize? I mean, all these faith groups are already trying things around tokens, or trying things around distributed ledgers, trying things around NFTs. Don't you imagine that our kids, our grandkids are going to demand that they have immutable ledgers that show them where the money goes? When I give you money, what are you doing with it? Are you feeding the homeless? Are you housing people? Are you caring for orphans and widows? What are you doing with the money I give you? And who are the people that are in charge, and why are they in charge? And how do I know they actually are qualified for this? Don't you understand that we're the generation that's demanding more of institutions, and the centralization just no longer is going to be accepted? So we have these NFTs, which we're here at NFT NYC. I love this place. It's my 8th event with the team. Love being here with Lou every year. NFTs are private, exclusive, limited communities. And then we have things like memes, or just general fiat cryptocurrency. And these are inclusive. You can own a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of one of these things, and you're still in the club, right? Now, when you think about the inclusive communities of crypto and the exclusive communities of NFTs, you want to ask yourself, what is it about these that cause people to have loyalty? It has to do with belonging. Maybe it helps if we think of a community as a body. So when you go and you're part of a community, you ask yourself, am I a thinker? Am I the brain of this community? Should I be thinking for us? Am I a communicator? Am I the mouth of this community? Should I be speaking for us? Am I the doer? Am I the feet for this community? Should I be marching forward for us? Am I the heart? Should I feel for us? Am I the hands? Should I reach out and reach somebody and bring them toward us? Now, the hand is no good without the arm. The brain is no good without the neck. So wouldn't it make sense for us to be a little bit more thoughtful about how each of us are bringing something to the table? One of the things I love about NFTs, and I love about memes or crypto in general, is the ability that people have to make a sacrifice when they join. You know that our ancestors didn't join communities like, I've arrived, here I am, you're so fortunate, I've joined your community, what's in it for me? That's not how they acted. All of our ancestors were a lot more like this. Oh, hey, can I be part of this? I mean, I could clean some toilets. I could, no. It's not about me. I see you and I think to myself, maybe you're my people. There was so much humility with the way that our ancestors joined communities. Yet somehow, some way, our attitude has changed so far from the primal human way that we've interacted with communities for so long. But it's not too late. We can still turn the tide. We can still join with humility. And one of the ways you join with humility is to start with sacrifice. So when you go buy that NFT, you're making a financial sacrifice to come in humbly and say, I honor this community. I'm here to lay down my money. What is money? but a simple tool to exchange value. I have money. I've been given something that says I brought value to somebody. I'm going to give my value to you because I value your community. You want to be a Bitcoin holder, an ETH holder, a meme coin holder. You walk in and you don't beat your chest and say, "Here I am, everybody." You get your wallet and you join in. Decentralized. Don't talk to nobody. There's no interview. There's no process. Your money does the talking. Your sacrifice does the talking. It's the sacrifice financially that gets you in the club because you value being part of it. Maybe there's 2 times that a person, it's most important in their life. The day they're born and the day they find out why. But what if the way we find out why we're born, our purpose, our destiny, what if it's hidden inside of that community? What if it's when you find your people, then you find your purpose? What if it's your destiny is hidden in the community? And you don't just want to be in a community and be like, "You're my person. I love you. I see you." No, you want to be in a community and you want to walk around and you want to hear, "You're my person. I love you. I see you." We all want to be seen. We all want to be loved. We all want to be somebody's people. And we can tokenize the process of communities. My chief of ethics has been with me 11 years. He recently shared this vision he has of homeless museums and incarcerated museums. And the idea is this: how about our great-grandkids never know what a homeless person is like, never seen a jail or a prison because we solved homelessness and incarceration? How do we do that? Maybe it's communities. Maybe centralized communities is not doing the trick. Maybe we need to rethink decentralized communities. Because ultimately, if you aren't part of a community of thugs, then you don't do the crime, then you don't do the time. And you see Ted, he's been playing basketball at San Quentin with the prisoners for the last 18 years, so they became his people. And he started thinking, we can solve this. We can solve the incarceration. We can stop 21st century slavery. There's got to be a way to do this. Maybe it's communities. And I would say, well, maybe it's tokenized communities. How do we give people a chance to join a community to change their destiny because they find their purpose in their people and they do it, and the first thing they do is sacrifice, whether it's with a meme or it's with an NFT. And my final thing I want to say to all of you is this: it's not the crowd that transforms the world. It's the woman. It's the child. It's the grandfather. It's the one that's been counted out. It's the one that had to learn a new language. It's the one that's failed. It's the one that lights themselves on fire and lets the world come watch them burn.